He was accused of 7 felonies. What they did, they brought him before Congress, and this is a Democrat-held Congress. And I ask you to keep listening to me, even if you're a Democrat, because this is important for you to know. Right now, while they're going after police departments and this kind of thing, the heaviest hand of wanting to prosecute people used to be, when I was a kid growing up, that you would vote for a Democrat if you wanted to get away with stuff, like the people on the streets throwing rocks. But for the honest people that are fighting for something, that have a spirit of any kind of integrity, any kind of honesty. One of the allegations against Roger was that he wouldn't say bad things against Trump. That's actually a basis of what you do as a person of integrity, is that you don't go and make up dirt, do any dirt, even if you had dirt. People that are on it, that's called, in many worlds I grew up in, that's actually called a snitch. So this guy here is none of those things. None of those things. But you're living in a country that favors, right now, that there's a spirit behind it that favors those things. He was accused of 7 felonies. A Democrat-run Congress had pulled him in. They do this in secret sessions. He was accused of lying to Congress. What that means is that they were asking him if he had talked to Julian Assange. This all revolved around Hillary Clinton's emails. So what I found fascinating about all of this from the very beginning, and that we were even praying for, was there was an exposing going on about Hillary Clinton and her emails. Roger was accused of talking to Julian Assange. Not that there's anything illegal about that. They just asked him in Congress. One of the questions was, had you talked to Julian Assange? I actually believe that Roger hadn't when he told them, and that's just my understanding of one of the allegations. Have you talked to Julian Assange? They had a witness that said he believed that Roger had. Roger stated, no, I didn't. The reason I believe that that's actually the truth, and I don't know why Roger's obligated to tell anybody if he talked to Julian Assange. When you're doing journalism, you're allowed to, first of all, there's nothing illegal about talking to Julian Assange. And second of all, what if he did or didn't? And third of all, why was the focus on whatever Roger would have said to Congress as opposed to the emails that were released by Julian Assange that exposed very, very wicked things that were happening at that time in the DNC that even to today, none of us know the depth of. But today I praise God that he's been released from prison. Those were 7 charges. That's an interesting number. I want to just go through a short list of things revolving around some simple prophetic stuff, some stuff that a whole team of guys at the bank today, I was sitting down, I started telling a bank manager some basic Hebrew stuff, some basic numeric stuff. Donald Trump, the day he laid his hand on the Bible, and it doesn't matter whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, the day he laid his hand on the Bible and swore in, this was not a Quran, like many state happened during maybe other presidencies. This was a Bible. He laid his hand on it. The day he laid his hand on that Bible and swore in as the 45th President of the United States, he was exactly 70 years old, 7 months, and 7 days to the day. And this was in the Hebrew year of 5777. Donald Trump would become the 45th President of the United States. The prophecies, many people compare Donald Trump to Cyrus. I'm one of those. I put up one of the forefront videos that would be hard to find on the internet right now. In fact, I did an interview with Roger Stone wherein the discussion topic was that very buried video about prophetically that Trump was going to go into office. I'm right down here right now while I make this tape and found this surprising news out tonight just a little ways down the road from the Clement family, who in the course of the last couple of days we've had some talks about some stuff that revolve around. It's not just a spirit of wickedness. So no matter how you cut it, no matter what you believe about coronavirus stuff, no matter what you believe, there's a spirit behind that. There's a spirit that was killing economies that were good. Nobody's in favor of that. And I have many, many times on things that I've made come forth and been like, I cry for Democrats, even some of them that are in my own family, where I state, and a kid, I would vote Democrat because I was a troubled kid and I wanted to not get in trouble. I used to believe that was the party you voted for if you wanted to get away with some, sneaky stuff, or you wanted to, you were kind of on that side of the, but I know there are people, but there are honest people in that party. And even a year ago, 2 years ago, I would not even bring up stuff about the Democrat Party because it's like that awkward feeling of imagine somebody good and like you can't really bring up to them stuff that their party's doing. Otherwise, it's like that sore spot. Now imagine how exaggerated that. I have tears for these people. And I'll tell you another thing. The Democrat Party is not the party that lets you free anymore. That would be the Republican Party that has mercy on people, which is what happened to Roger Stone. He did nothing wrong. And Assange was running for his life because he was involved in the release of the reason they wanted him dead. Hillary wanted him dead. She openly stated such. That was because he released He released Hillary's emails. And I don't know if it was the Russians that got I really highly doubt that it was. I doubt it was close. I'm very certain that let me just say it, probably much closer than that. And those people are in graveyards. And I promise you Hillary knows who they are. But here's my point. 7 felonies, just like Trump was put in, and lots of 70s revolving around Trump, and 7s. Yet 3 7s, that's the lucky number on all the lotto machines. Trump was known for his 5-star casinos. 5 is a number of grace. 7s. 45, that's the chapter of the book of Isaiah where the prophecy of Cyrus comes out of. The prophecy that tells you that I did a full walkthrough of this. If you can find it on the internet, I'd be surprised. But in that chapter, it walks you through. It walks you through that Babylon. America is commonly compared to Babylon. And Babylon had its elites, its richy riches, had decided to suction and funnel off of the people so hard and put the tax. They wanted there to be a big separator. And this was a grand empire. Even Alexander the Great wrote, and he said Babylon was hard to escape because it was so majestic. Even in its paganness, the work of God honors his principles for the wicked and the righteous alike. And those Babylonians had worked very hard to make those cities. And here were the little playboy aristocrats that were going to suction the life slowly out of everybody. They were going to have their big parties, their big occult parties. That's what they were going to do. And they were going to get drunk on the goblets of God. That's what they were going to do. And prosecute anybody of any nobility and tax the man on the ground to death. And what God did was he sent in Cyrus. And while they were having their party and they were drunken because Babylon was just like the Titanic. It was so big and solid that it could not be sunk. And what did they do? That whole night while they were drinking the wine of Babylon, there were Persian armies that were coming through the moats. They had lowered the moats, just like it says in Isaiah 45. And it was Daniel, the same prophet who Gabriel came to. Gabriel is always present around the appearance of Jesus. That was he's always present. So this is but he's writing in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 9:25, no one understand this. From the time that the word goes forth to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, this would come when Cyrus came. When the word goes forth, it would come after Cyrus came, to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. There shall be 69 weeks of years. It's going to work out to be 17,880 days. The decree of Artaxerxes is when that decree was done. All the way to the day that Jesus rode the donkey through the front gate of Jerusalem, and he was weeping when he did that. But riding the donkey through the gate, that fulfills Zechariah 9:9. Behold, the king cometh on the back of a foul donkey. Many don't know that passage goes on. He was weeping. O Jerusalem, you who stone the prophets. How did you not know that this was your day? How I would have longed to cover you as a hen covers her chicks with her wings. But ye would not. And they were throwing that. He was crying the whole way up, that ride on the temple. And they were throwing their palm leaves down. That's how you get Palm Sunday. And when he got up to the front of the temple, this was the only time that Jesus allowed the people. Many times in all 4 of your Gospels, the people are wanting to declare Jesus out as king. And they'll say, well, Jesus vanished into the crowd. He disappeared. He walked this way. They were about to declare him king. He did a great miracle. And Jesus vanishes from the text. Oh, where is he? Where is he? We want to make him king. Except for one particular day. One particular day when they're throwing their palm leaves and he's riding up the front gate of that temple and he's crying for Jerusalem. And that day is the day that Daniel had given the math for more than 500 years in advance, to the day. To the exact day, if you work out the math of it. And I've done that on several videos. And when he got to the front gate of that temple, those Pharisees, and this was 3 days before he would be crucified, they said, you've got to silence these people. This is heresy. And he said, if I were to silence these people, indeed I tell you, even the stones, the rocks of this place would cry out. Now, if I rewind backwards to Isaiah 45, it was Daniel in the heart of Babylon, the most wicked kingdom on earth. An entire chapter of your Bible is written by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful. This was the toughest, biggest bad dog king you ever had ruling Babylon. But he favored Daniel and Daniel's God. That Babylonian king is in heaven, I can assure you. God did not let him write a chapter of your Bible and him not be, even if he's a janitor, he's there. And he's not. But I'll tell you, it was Daniel who, when Nebuchadnezzar had died, Daniel was still there. And Belshazzar, the little rich playboy with all his aristocrats, was in charge. He was having his drunken party, and a big hand came out of the wall, came out of thin air. And I've heard this. Well, we'll get into that another time. We're also going to talk about AI and some things because it's important before it leaves my mind. Because some of the things going on, spiritual things, wickedness, I don't care whether it calls itself Black Lives Matter, whether it calls itself, anything that is perpetrating hate, that is manipulating people's mind, that is doing occult or witchcraft. Right here, one of the last ones that I did is on the occult basic walk. You need to go over and watch this stuff. I'm putting more stuff up here because it's comfortable for me to talk to you on my own things. And I think that's good practice for a lot of you out there watching, to put your stuff on your own pages and invest in it. It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's expensive. I've been struggling with my stuff even staying up after I spend a bunch and put a lot of work into it. A lot of these big service companies made the argument, it's easy, one click, upload your stuff, and it works. That may be true. Come over to God in a nutshell. Some of this basic stuff will light up bulbs for you on the history of the occult and where all this stuff comes from. And AI, I think there are things you need to know about AI. You've got systems that are advising people maybe. And if you have an image of a beast wants to represent its image to you. And the truth is, none of that's new. It's been doing it the whole time. It's just getting better at it. The crystal balls are these cell phones, even the little screens you're watching me through now. But back to Daniel. When that hand came out of thin air, and little Belshazzar was having his demonic party with all of his friends, because he's the big shot who's in charge. He was in charge. Nothing could break his empire. And a big hand came out of the wall. This is where you get the term writing on the wall. And it wrote on the wall. And Belshazzar, the little rich kid playboy of Babylon, didn't know what to do. In fact, it says he peed himself right there in the text. But he did what all little playboys did. He went and got his mommy. Mommy, help me. What happens? I embarrassed myself in front of my friends. I peed myself when a big hand came out of the wall. And his mother said, you know what your father did? Your father would go to Daniel. And so Belshazzar had Daniel summoned. And he's standing there now, and he wants to impress his friends, because that's what it's all about. It's about ego. It's about pride. 2 Timothy, in the last days, perilous times shall come. Men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, lovers of money. Right? This is greed. This is not that you have money. The wealth of the wicked is about to be handed to the hands of the righteous. That's the true test. You've got passages coming up here. Prideful, boastful, arrogant, disobedient to parents, rebellious, disorderly. Sound anything like now? Deceivers, liars, traitors. Are you in a traitorous time right now? All a description of what those times will look like. 2 Timothy, I suggest you go take a look at it if you want to know the end times. That in Matthew 24. Read them both, all the way through. He had Daniel summoned. And Daniel came in, and before all of his friends, and he had also gotten the goblets of God, all of the artifacts from Babylon, or from Israel, from Jerusalem. His father kept in basically like a museum. He wanted to get those out and party with them. That was a great plan. And he says, I'll give you half of my empire if you'll just interpret for me the writing on this wall, and I will cover you in gold and silver. And Daniel said, you can keep your gold and all of your silver. And I'm sorry to tell you, Belshazzar, king of earth, controller of everything, marionetter and manipulator of the people through all the screens. You don't have half an empire to give. But I will interpret for you, Belshazzar, the writing on this wall. It says, you have been weighed and found wanting. That's where you get that line from, in the writing on the wall. By the next morning, there are many people that did not know that Persia took Babylon. It was the moats. Well, Daniel was telling him that very prophecy, were crawling with Persian soldiers who had just surrounded their little party where they were so smart they were all together in one little group, marionetting the world as it be. And by morning, the empire belonged to the Persians, and it became a prosperous empire. It was still a pagan empire, very pagan empire. The Greeks would come later. They were more pagan, and the Romans were worse. But there was a window under Cyrus, who honored God, which comes out of Isaiah 45. And it's in that very passage, and it's in Isaiah 45 because it was Daniel who walked down the front steps of Babylon with the scrolls of Isaiah. And he laid that scroll in King Cyrus's hands. Cyrus's name was written in those prophecies 300 years beforehand. That's got to be pretty impressive if you're a king. And Daniel says, here is the prophecy of you coming. And it's already written in the text how you would take the city, and gives the dates if you knew how to read them. And that's what I've been doing on God in a Nutshell the whole time. This is the Kim Clement prophecies told you Trump would be president, that there would be an impeachment, that the entire summer would be a time of chaos and disorder and all of this, and there'd be wicked, evil parties. And there's a nation itching for a new kind of war. Boy, I wonder what that means. I bet I know. Come over and start listening to my stuff on God in a Nutshell. Do it. And what else does it state on there? Something that we've all been praying for. Mr. Stone back here. He will take a simple stone, remember the name, and they will laugh at him. What do they do on all of these media things? They laugh at Trump all day. And the more I see it, the more encouraged I get by it, because the more I see those prophecies, the more God is highlighting things in those prophecies. And it was because of Cyrus that they got to build their wall. It's a funny thing. Walls. I had some friends from California call the other night. Trump, you're not quite at your end times yet. Don't fear that. Fear not. Trump, just like stone, is as he will take a simple stone, and I have no idea what this means. I'm excited to find out. But there's been a lot of press around this guy here. I've been to dinner with him. I tell you, we have prayed for this man. Prayed for him. And he's got a tattoo of Nixon on his back, and I love it. And I tell you, the Lord's going to do things probably that are going to shock this guy here. But there were lots of Christians praying for this guy. And there's lots of Christians praying for this nation. And these things are not about whatever they tell you on the medias. This is about light and dark spiritually. And this is about people of integrity who are going to rise up and be bold. And it's not going to matter what the screens say. The other prophecies, where's my protection? Where's my protection? And people will become very afraid. And then he says, where are my people gathered? Where are my people gathered? Then he says, the spiders. These are all prophecy things from Kim Clement. Well, I'm going to go sit down and we're going to talk with his family. There's some AI stuff I think you should know, but more than that, I want them to talk to you some through the screen about some of the prophecies. And there's also a letter that has never gotten to Trump that should. But I believe all things in the times, all timing is in the Lord's hands, just like Roger's pardon that happened tonight. But yeah, it was Daniel that walked down those steps and laid the scroll of Isaiah in Cyrus's hands and said, you are meant to break the bars of iron and the gates of steel, the occult of Babylon, and bring prosper and restoration to those people that have been manipulated and controlled. You go and read the passages, read the prophecy, watch my Trump prophecy thing. There's other ones out there. Watch them too. But I am thankful that tonight Roger Stone knows that he is free. And that was part of the prophecy as well. And the part following Roger and the prophecies, and the Lord's not done with him, and the parts that he will take a simple stone, remember the name, and I don't know what that means yet. Those have not happened yet. And the parts about the ending of all this chaos and madness and all of this has an exciting end too. The next parts of the prophecy, just like he was caught up in his allegations, were dealing with Julian Assange, and Julian Assange was releasing the emails on Hillary because, God forbid, you show how dirty she was. I can't even believe the arguments there. He released emails to show everybody how dirty I was. Get him in trouble. He released emails on me. Prophecies surrounding these coming time periods are a new Snowden arises. Highly embarrassing moments for important people as another Snowden arises. And all of this black magic sex stuff, go watch the occult video. That has a history going back a long time. I think you're in the hours for it. Highly embarrassing moments. That's what comes up next in prophecy. Thank all of you that watch these videos, and praise God. Roger, you just have an incredible night tonight. And I pray over the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. I pray over his family. I pray for protection on him and on every decision. And I ask you to join me in that prayer tonight. I ask for protection on every single decision. I ask for a stopping of the mouths that bark. And I ask for a turning around in the wind. And I ask for a boldness in every single person that hears my voice. I pray for a rising up in your spirit, that you no longer be afraid. Fear not, for God is with you. I'm Trey Smith of God in a Nutshell. Come over to God in a Nutshell. These are the new, and I want to see these all over the place. Everybody is arguing about kids being in school. These are all, I want you to go over to God in a Nutshell right now. And I want you to take a look, and I want you to, these walk you through. There's an illiteracy about the history of this place. Even if you think I'm kooky here and there, you go ahead and just look at my kookiness for a minute, because it might grow on you. It's because it's the history of your place is real, in a way far beyond you. And to understand prophecy, to understand any of this stuff, you have to understand the beginning of this. I mean, that's like 101. I've got a tape up there now called 101. You need to understand the spooky stuff too. I'm Trey Smith of God in a Nutshell. God bless every last one of you tonight and your families on the other side of the screen.